Senator John Fetterman has some advice for his own party about why they lost male voters to Trump. The Pennsylvania Democrat telling the New York Times, quote, "In 2016, I was doing an event with steelworkers across the street where I live, and it was clear that at the time people were voting for Trump. And the Democrats' response was, aren't they smart enough to realize they're voting against their interest? It's condescending. If anything, that reinforces the kind of stereotype, telling them that I know better than you do, and that's not helpful." Former Democratic congressman from Pennsylvania, Patrick Murphy, joins us now. My friend, I won't put up with any of his shenanigans, by the way, either this morning. But in true sincerity and curiosity, Patrick, Fetterman, I do think, is pointing to something that's a weakness within the Democratic Party. There is a tone of condescension towards those with whom they disagree. And in this case, it seemed to target an entire demographic, young men.
Yeah, and the Democrats, you know, as you mentioned in that article, we lost the Democratic vote and the working class vote. I mean, I was at a holiday party for Thanksgiving with my buddies. Most of my friends, you know, I grew up in Northeast Philadelphia with, none of them went to college, right? And so I had, you know, Police Lieutenant Keith Christie yesterday say, "Hey, Patrick, what happened to the Democrats? They used to fight for us." And you know, I'm talking to these folks, and then I'm like, Senator Fetterman's right. He's onto something. You can't talk down to people. You got to meet them where they are. And when you spend so much time on things like student loan, you know, over $100 million on that, and it's just, when you look at that, and most Americans don't go to college, there's a disconnect, and that's why, frankly, we lose that type of vote.
You know, it's a great point on the student loan forgiveness and the blue collar workers as well. But I do wonder. I think this, Patrick, Democrats fashion themselves. They believe they are the smarter contingency among the political parties. They believe they are the more intellectual. And because of that, which I think is incorrect, but because they believe that to be the case, there's a looking down your nose. There is that tone is going to be a real hurdle to attracting people to your party.
Yeah, listen, I don't necessarily agree with that premise. I do think there are some Democrats that do look down, and just like there's some Republicans that look down on working class people, right? And that's the divide in our country. And that's why I think when you have people like Senator Fetterman and other people who are trying to unite Americans and are trying to bring people together and do it and meeting them where they are, I think that's what we keep missing. And you know, you got to just talk to people and let them know what you're going to do for them. You know, it's what's going to affect their pocketbook. You know, inflation was a big deal, right? And it was going down, but you got to talk about, you know, what you're doing that's going to make their lives better. It's going to make their pocketbooks better. It's going to put more food on the table at a cheaper price. And I think the Democrats have better policies, but they're not conveying that to the American people. And that's why, you know, they lost the Senate, they lost their White House, right, and they still don't control the U.S. House of Representatives.
So far, their strategy seems to be, let's triple down on trans issues or whatever it may be, identity politics. And I don't know if this is a path forward. See what you think. There are rumors, speculation running rampant that AOC could be a candidate for president in 2028. Here's a list, by the way, of people who've been mentioned as potential 2028 leaders of the Democrats. But the new one there is AOC.
Listen, Will, I love you. It drives me crazy when people already talk about 4 years from now, right? Like, let's get stuff done now. Let's figure out and be honest reflection on what we need to do better as a country and meet people where they are, as I mentioned, but also get stuff done. And on that list is people like Governor Josh Shapiro here in Pennsylvania. He gets things done. People appreciate that. And, you know, he does it in a bipartisan way. He doesn't have control of the state Senate. He gets things passed because he puts our Pennsylvania families first. And I think that's what people are hungry for. But they don't want to be talking about 4 years from now. You know, we don't even have the cabinet in. We don't have the new members of the Congress in yet. And people are tired of the politics. But I get it, Will. Like, you know, like people, they can't help themselves, right? But
well, it's not just that.
Hoping...
I got to run. It's not just that. It's that your party is in the wilderness right now, looking for an identity moving forward, trying to figure out how to talk to people and seeing who will be, brainstorming who could be the visionary or the leader of that movement. And I'll just take you, we'll leave it here. I'll take you what you said. You got to get things done. And what you just said is AOC is really good at saying things, at articulating, communicating a vision, which may or may not be your party's moving forward. We'll find out. Like you said, we do have 4 years to figure that out. But I would say that governors like Shapiro might have a better track record of getting things done. And we'll see if that continues over the next 4 years. Patrick Murphy, very few shenanigans. I appreciate that this morning. Good to see you, Patrick.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate you, bud.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe.